Hello and welcome to our new Arcadis Talks. And today I have the opportunity to interview our CEO, Alan Brookes. So welcome, Alan, to our podcast.
Thank you, Karin. It's great to be here with you all. Yep.
Thank you. So let's start with some personal flavor here, Alan. We know that we are almost 2.5 years in the company, but I would like to go back and ask you what originally attracted you to Arcadis and what has kept you inspired after all these years?
Well, I joined Arcadis through an acquisition in 2011 when I was actually living and working in Asia, living in Hong Kong. And I think although there have been many approaches to the business I work for to be acquired, I guess it was the Dutch background that actually attracted us in terms of the type of work that the business does, the purpose that the business does to improve quality of life. And I think it was that really brought us to join Arcadis. I think what's kept me here, I guess a few things. One, I'm really proud of the type of work we do. I think we live improving quality of life day in, day out. And I think, therefore, when you have a business that believes in its purpose so strongly and you look at the projects that make a difference to people's lives, then it keeps you in the business. It keeps you motivated to be in that business. And that's still today. You know, I go around the world, I'm very privileged, but seeing the projects that we do and the difference that we make can only make you feel proud. And I'm in that privileged position as CEO to see that.
Yeah, I am 21 years with the company as well. And what I used to say to people is that we are in a company that is always transforming, right?
Yes,
so a lot of challenges to deal, a lot of purpose in what we do. So I am super aligned with what you just said, Alan. And well, we are now approaching the final year of our strategic cycle. As one Arcadis. And from our 3 pillars, I would like to ask and focus a bit on the digital or the human and digital innovation, right? So how do you see the digital transformation shaping the company's next chapter?
I think I'll probably start somewhere you don't expect me to start, and that is, I think it's about mindset. And that mindset really is one of continuous learning, because I think our industry, what we do as an organisation, will be impacted. And I know some people will say that's quite scary. It's only scary if you don't embrace the change that's coming. And I think, therefore, looking to the future, yes, we've all got our sort of background, which will be a technical background, but actually embracing new ways of working, using and managing data, software with clients, becoming more advisory with clients. I mean, I've seen some great examples here in Brazil already around the use of digital tools for either efficiency or helping clients. And that's got to become the norm in how we operate. So it is that blend of digital and human innovation as we move our clients forward, because they're going on the same journey, and that we just embrace change and have that mindset of this is enhancing what we do. It's enabling us to do more and advise our clients better. So I think it's exciting, but it will impact the ways that we work in the future.
Yes, perfect. And I think that artificial intelligence here brings a lot of opportunities for us, and of course also challenges, right? So as a company, I think that we are on our journey also to stimulate, and how do we guarantee the safety in using AI, right?
Yeah, I think we're testing. I mean, if you look, let's go back, even the Chat GPT, we had to then say, right, we'll have an Arcadis version. And that really was about protecting both the people in Arcadis and the business around the privacy of data and client data. And I think that's the sort of things we need to think about for our future. That AI will definitely make a difference. It will no doubt speed certain things up that we do. We've got 1,000, maybe more than 1,000 people now testing AI and what it can do for us. However, we're also in the process of putting governance around AI because it can lead to problems. I mean, every single day, we probably don't all realize, but every single day we are attacked with cyber challenges. I had one while I've been here of somebody reaching out to me saying, Alan, you just sent me a WhatsApp video asking me to do something. It doesn't sound right. Is this right? I said, no, it's a scam. But that was a video with my voice telling somebody to do something. And you just think, that's one simple example. But as AI moves forward, without governance, without rules, and without protection, we could end up in a difficult situation. So it's the combination of testing, learning, embracing what we can do, but then also having the governance and protection around it for the company and the individual.
Yeah, perfect. And Alan, another curiosity here from our side, right? We are in a global company. And of course, each one of the regions where we work, we have different aspects, different cultures, different projects. And we've been on the last days showing you a bit of what we are doing here in our cluster in Latin America. So when you look for these last days, what stands out the most about this region and our team from what you've seen?
The first word I'm going to say actually is passion. Passion to make a difference, passion for everything that you're doing. I'm not just saying it, but I've been hugely impressed by what I've seen here. And I think not only how you are diversifying the business, how you're looking at the challenges of the different countries in Latin America, whether that's water, whether it's energy, different things, as well as the traditional work you're doing, you're enhancing and the traditional work and you're diversifying that into areas that the countries actually need. And I think that makes a real difference because it keeps that improving quality of life real for everybody here. And I think you've got to respect local customs and cultures, and we should always do that. Can we help and support one another? I said to your team, Karin, yesterday, what is it you can do for the rest of Arcadis? Because I see what you're doing here with digital tools and efficiencies. I see what you're doing here with your clients and the way you're talking to them about the strategies for whether it's something you could say very traditional like mining here, but you're talking about sustainable mining. You're talking about communities, legacies. I think that's hugely impressive, and I think that's the sort of difference we want to make.
Yeah. And as we are talking here about sustainability, and we are just very close to COP30 that will happen here in Belém on the next days. And there is a very high expectation. From our country, of course, having a COP in the Amazon region has a huge significance for us, but also I think that the world is looking for Brazil and expecting from this COP that it has to be different, right? They are saying that this have to be the COP of action. Yes. So how is Arcadis helping clients move from ambition to delivery when it comes to climate and sustainability goals?
I think, let me just start by saying, I think coming into COP30, this was always seen as the watershed sort of COP. The talking had to stop and action and decisions had to be taken. I've been privileged to sit on the executive of the World Business Council for Sustainable Development, and as an exec we've been helping with the Brazilian government look at the COP and say, what are the things like finance, is it logistics, agriculture, what are the big decisions that need to be taken? Obviously, there's climate. We are over 1.5 degrees now, which was the Paris Agreement. That ship has sailed. And people should say, well, the flooding that we've seen around the world, including Brazil, the wildfires that we've seen around the world, climate change is here. And I think, I hope that this COP is the decision-making COP. We need to reset. We need to make the big decisions. I think for Arcadis, and why I joined the World Business Council, is really about what can we do. And we can all say, well, it's not that much in the scheme of things. But actually, if everybody took that attitude, nothing would change.
Yeah.
And I think, therefore, I feel committed that as a business, we can start to bring sustainability into all our advice to clients. I just touched on you talking this morning, sustainable mining. What's that really mean, in terms of biodiversity, nature, energy reduction, water reduction? It's things like this where we can make a difference talking to our clients. I think going forward into the future, we really need to start to think about how that becomes not an additional service, but it's just how we speak to our clients. And then we look at the sustainability development goals that are there and say, how do we bring these in to the way we advise clients? I think legislation is starting to help in some countries, and therefore we can help our clients. How do they really move their businesses towards compliance? But with others, we can just say, look, this is what others are doing. This is how successful people can be. Because, even when governments change and you get a different agenda, if you replace the word sustainability for efficiency, then I think the same thing applies. Who's not going to want to lower energy costs? Who's not going to want to lower their water bill, and so on and so forth? So you still achieve the same goals. And I think you've got to accept political sort of agendas are short term, but now you'll see that we can do more by just really helping clients achieve those goals. And I feel really passionate about us doing that.
Yeah, no, great. There is another aspect maybe to explore here, and it's also connected to something that you said to me. Oh, you are so welcoming, right? Yes. And this is the way in general. We've heard a lot about it during the World Cup, and now for COP30, we are trying to bring also a more human tone, emphasizing the need for collaboration, inclusion, and the Brazilian concept of a word that is mutirão. That means we have a common objective. So let's work together to get there, right? So how can companies like Arcadis bring this spirit into practice, as we are talking about real values for our company, right?
I think you could just sum up my next year's agenda, Karin, actually. I think if you look at Arcadis, I've been around so long that I've got lots of favourite phrases. And you heard me say, if we only knew what we know, we'd be dangerous. And I think what I mean by that is, if we can collaborate, if we can talk to each other, if we can help each other, collaboration has to be the key word for the year ahead, I think. And that means really wrapping ourselves around our clients. And something I've seen you do really well here in Brazil, where you openly talk to each other, whether it's your water team, whether it's your energy team, whether it's your mining team, your industrial manufacturing team, but you come together. You don't think, well, that's that part. You actually think the clients can use this. We can work with our clients. And I think, therefore, that is going to be where the future lies for Arcadis. And it's so much part of who you are here. If we can get that to be so much part of the whole of Arcadis, I think we will be really successful. So a great example here in LATAM, actually. Yeah.
Yeah. No, good to hear that, Alan, because indeed it's been a work that we've been doing in the last years. But I think that this passion from what we do and the focus in our client that is growing more and more made a natural process, right? So if I can see I have an opportunity, let me bring my colleague here to contribute as well to the client.
And it's about trust, isn't it?
Yes.
And confidence, that you need to be open to say, these are Arcadis clients. I think I said to your team the other day, 91% of what we do is singular service across the world. We sell one service. When you look at the opportunity, particularly with key clients, whether they're local or global, doesn't matter, then the opportunity to trust each other, and I've seen that here, bring each other in and support the client, then that actually will make a huge difference to Arcadis globally as well.
Yes. And Alan, we can imagine the challenge that you have to lead such an organization as we have in Arcadis, right? So leading this global organization today means navigating constant transformation. What has leadership taught you about resilience, empathy, and decision making in uncertain times?
That's a good question, actually. But yeah, I think nobody, well, I'm going to say nobody teaches you. Maybe nobody teaches me to be a CEO. But I think what you've got to do is say, in your mind, what's the most important thing that you're trying to do? And it's a bit like I said, before about politics. I want to be here leading the business as a caretaker of the business because, the business has been around 135 years. Hopefully it will be around another 135 years. And what you're trying to do is keep the business relevant, keep the people excited, but also maintain the values in terms of the passion, the purpose to improve quality of life, to do the right thing. I said before about the great projects we do. Probably what we don't shout about so much is the projects we turn down, where we don't think that's... Now, that could be health and safety, but it could be various things that have come across our table over the years. And as CEO, what you're trying to do is balance and say, yes, we need to give a return to our investors. We're not a charity at the end of the day, but at the same time, you're investing in the future. We spent a lot of money on standardization, automation, on AI, looking to keep ourselves relevant in the future. But at the same time, you're thinking, well, we need to grow the business. So how do we bring in new talent? How do we develop talent from internally? So there's a number of things, and you're just trying to balance a range of things. The only thing I've always said in any job I've held is make sure you've got the very best people around you. Make sure you don't feel threatened by people around you, that you have the very best talent around you, because that way it's a team approach to actually get the great results. And I'm sure you will say you've got the same here in LATAM, and that's really important. Yep.
Yeah, as you said, we know so much. We have so much knowledge within the company, so it's impossible to have in one or two. Yep. So working as a team really makes a difference. And what we see is when we share these values, when we share the targets, also the journey is pleasant, and we become more passionate about what we are doing.
Yeah, I think so too. I think so. I mean, I think also, I always say, one of my old bosses used to say to me, Alan, I can improve you maybe 5%, but if I can improve the whole of my team 5%, then that's so much better.
Yes. No, you talked a bit about future, and it come to my mind here. We have a motto on this strategic cycle that is accelerating a planet positive future. So how, in this journey, in these 3 years, Alan, what have you seen in terms of making concrete this to society, to our clients? If you can comment a bit, I think it would be super interesting.
Yeah, it was interesting when I went to the board and said the 3 years strategy, obviously 3 years in this sort of very dynamic sort of world in which we live. 3 years is probably as much as you can really say. But I then said I want to put the title to this 3-year strategy of accelerating a planet positive future. And they said, well, what does that really mean? And I said, it's about the choices we make and the work that we do. And it meant for me more about, when we look at climate change, let's understand that when we're doing flood projections, when we're doing, it may be the work we do for the Habitat for Humanity, the shelter program, and actually help people who are impacted by disasters around the world. But also it means about the work we want to bring to our clients. And that's why I said, instead of sustainability being something on the outside as another thing we do, it's actually integral to what we offer. And I'm pleased when we've seen clients, Karin here, and we're talking about, sustainability is, right, how do we create sustainable mining? When you talk about water, how do we reduce water consumption for our clients? These are all positive steps towards sustainability being who we are, and this is about accelerating then a planet positive future. If you're being, I suppose I would say, melodramatic, if you're being sort of, oh goodness me, but I would say, what do I feel? Then I feel that I want to leave a world where I feel confident that it's still in a healthy position for my daughter and my grandchildren. And until we get a grip of climate change and, the fact that the temperatures in the world are rising, then we are not assuring ourselves of that. I think there was a very sobering comment made by a professor I was talking to, who somebody had said to him, well, the world has been here before. We've had the Ice Age, we've had this, that and the other, we're all still here. And he said, that's not the question. The world will still be here. The question you should ask yourself is, will we still be here? Dinosaurs are extinct. There's a reason for that. And it was just a very sobering comment. And I think, I'm sure we all can feel, with whatever you believe, leaving the world in a healthy, better place has got to be a goal for everybody.
Yes. And again, talking about future, Alan, of course, we are a business, a people business, right? And having the opportunity to work in a company as Arcadis is amazing, because we have so many opportunities to be and participate in global projects, to work in different countries. So, and we invested a lot in the last years in the skill-powered organization. Yes. Maybe this is a subject that I would like you to talk a bit about it and bring also the perspective of how many benefits and opportunities it can bring to our people.
Yeah, I think what we're trying to do here is, if you talk to people, you probably know people for what they do today. And I think what we realised is two things. One, you don't know everybody's CV. It's not printed on their face that you say, okay, you're in water today, but you used to work for the jockey club and you know about race courses or football stadium or whatever. And I think what we want to do, first of all, is capture people's skills, their experience, what knowledge that they have. Then what we can also do is recommend, through the skills-powered organisation, the projects, the courses, the training that will develop them for their future and their career, and so we can manage the careers better. And for the business, when we're looking at projects coming in, we know more fully the full range of skills and experience we have to call upon. So it may mean, I'm just making this up, but it may mean that when a major water project comes in, we may find the best experience and skills are in Brazil, not necessarily in the US or the UK. So I think that's what we're trying to do, is look at, and the skills-powered organisation is also important, because as the world changes and data becomes important, digital, AI becomes important, then you can start to look at the training and development that you can offer to people to keep them relevant for the future as well. And this is something we've invested heavily in with Lovenclam, and it's something we will continue to roll out through next year. And then we will be able to start to link our pipeline of projects in for people to have visibility of the courses and projects that are open to them to develop their skills further for the future.
Perfect. And we are almost coming to an end. And you talked about future. And again, for you, Alan, if you look in the next, to the end of this decade, what would success means to Arcadis in your vision?
Yeah, I think what I'm looking at now is the world is changing faster really than ever before. So this year, for the first time, I'm going to make it simple that we have a research team in place, or a foresight team if you want to look at that. And what's that mean? It means now that we are looking ahead 5-10 years out. what's the next sectors that we need to be thinking about? Because if you think about EV and EV cars and batteries, okay, it's sort of stalling a little bit, but that came from nowhere. Nobody would have thought, here's a great sector that we should get into, but there was. And therefore, we need to plan ahead for what's the next future sectors. Will we need to evolve our services? Are there new services we should be thinking about? Because, I said to you earlier that there may be things where we need to build more of a audit and compliance service that our clients can use, around ESG and compliance and things like this. So what are those? So what I'm trying to do as I look ahead for the next 10 years, that we make ourselves fit for the future by not only developing our people and skills, I would feel really proud about that, but we've also got the research going on that keeps us looking ahead more, and in a fast changing world, how do we need to be more agile? How do we need to react to clients' changing needs and also new sectors, new services? Because I think, what we're going to find, and I've already heard it from clients over the last few months, clients are having conversations that you may say, do you know what? I don't know what the answer is at all. It's not a request for a proposal. It's now, come and have a conversation with me because I've got this problem. I don't know how to fix it. Can you show me another client like this, or can you talk to me about it? And it's a much more open discussion. And I think that will keep us really relevant. And I would feel really proud if we've got all of this happening in the next few years, looking ahead for the next 10 years.
Very inspiring. Thank you, Alan. Yeah, just to close, what message would you share with our Arcadians here in Latin America, especially for this new generation joining the company?
Yeah. Do you know, after the last few days, I would say, if you'd have asked me that at the start, I'm not sure I would have known the answer. But right now, I would say, keep your passion, keep your curiosity, and you're some of the most innovative people in Arcadis. So keep doing that, but share it with everybody else.
Thank you very much, Alan, for your time. And we hope we'll have other opportunities as well to have this kind of very good conversation and looking ahead for our future. Thank you very much.